Hello again, grown Black folks talk. The move in silence conversation among Black women, the limitations and the opportunities. Now, it so happens that um, therapist Nicole Lewis, I believe that's her name, if my memory is serving me. By the time you see this, it'll be Tuesday afternoon, but it's very late in the day. No, it's actually very early Tuesday morning now. You'll see this later on. Made a tweet about her not seeing male clients anymore because of some things that have happened with some male clients that she's had in the past. And, that they're asking her to prove herself and that she's not the one or two and is not beyond cussing some people out. Now, this became the site for, of course, Miss Lewis has done what she has a right to do. I'm not here to debate whether or not she had the right to say that. She has a right as a U.S. citizen to say whatever she wants publicly. However, this, of course, caused a recurrence of a very long-standing argument. And Black women content creators divide pretty sharply about this. You have one side of this argument that says that Black women need to be supported in speaking this way in public so that other Black women know that they're not, that the disrespect they're suffering is not in their heads because Black women are always being gaslighted about what they should tolerate from disrespectful Black men and a disrespectful society in general. And that Black women need to speak publicly because that allows us to know that we're not alone and so we can find and network and support one another. But then the other side of this camp, and this is the side that I'm in without controversy, is it's better for you to move in silence. If you are in a conflict situation, the preponderance of military, business, and professional evidence says you will do much better given what's happened to the last therapist who uh, Black woman therapist who happened to speak out against the behavior of Black men. Given what happened to her, it would probably be a better tactical move to move in silence on this so that you make your moves, but you don't draw attention to yourself. Now, again, the preponderance of military, business, and professional evidence suggests this is a better move. And I'm not just talking about yesterday, I'm talking about for hundreds and even thousands of years. However, I recognize that being told to move in silence to some Black women sounds like sit down, shut up, and take it. It is not that, but I recognize that there is not going to be a meeting of minds on this subject because there are, like I said, legitimate reasons because Black women are gaslit so ferociously by a lot of the elements of our society. But unfortunately, this sibling rivalry that's going on between Black men and women has become very, very severe. And a lot of Black women need to hear from one another in public spaces so that we all know that we're not crazy and we're not making this up. And what is happening to us is actually happening. So there can be no meeting of the minds that will resolve this question one way or another. This conversation didn't start with Nicole Lewis. It's not going to end with Nicole Lewis. What do we do in the meantime? Well, part of the answer is as Black women, we have to commit to networking with one another such that we have room to feel seen, to feel heard, and to find the help and support we need to make different moves. Elon Musk playground may not be the right place, but then I thought about this a little bit and I thought, well, we don't have a whole lot of other. Do we own and control any social media? Not really. We do have Black Twitter, but that doesn't belong to us. It's publicly accessible. Perhaps what we need to do is think about how do we network powerfully in ways that are less exposed to the view of people that have decided to become our enemies. That's maybe the question we're not asking. Do we have the infrastructure in place and can we get it? Um, this is why a lot of Black women content creators are putting their things behind paywalls. You have to, it costs you, if you're not going to troll quite as hard if it costs you every time to do it. Now, there are, of course, some men that will, but most are not going to pay good money for the privilege of trolling so that people can build networks away from the fools of the general public. Because what ends up happening is when you expose yourself to the public, you expose yourself to everything that can happen. When you say you're not going to see male clients in a professional field, what you open yourself up to is the allegation of discrimination. Men are half the human race. She did not say Black men. So you've now rolled that up also for racist white men to come after you as well. It's just a risk that she felt that it was good for her to take. It was necessary to be said. And again, I'm not disputing Ms. Lewis's right to say whatever she wants in public. She's a U.S. citizen. She has that right. She's a human being. She has a right to self-expression. So since we can't resolve the argument about whether or not we should move in silence or whether we need to speak publicly so that we can vindicate and give support to one another, since that can't be resolved, uh, what I am adding to the conversation is how do we build the networks we need to be able to shield ourselves from unnecessary reprisal, but still be heard out. The other approach to this may be if enough people speak to get critical mass, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like in the United States of America, since at max, the number would be 18 million. That by no means, that's not even 5%. It's a little over 5% of the United States population in total. So, but given how many critical positions Black women actually have always held in this society, there was a time when upper class white babies didn't live if we didn't feed them. Maybe we're not as that involved now in American society, but I guarantee you, if you look around, we don't have a House of Representatives for a good number of days in January if a Black woman did not burp all them little babies up in there who were sitting up there crying and beating each other up over who was going to be Speaker. Shout out to the Honorable Cheryl L. Johnson. If she ever writes that book, I want to read it about what that was like. But she probably can't write that as long as she holds that job because professional standards. It's very hard to hold a position and not constantly have to think about upholding the professional standards. That's just what goes to having certain things. And if we want Black women to have certain things, then we have to behave in a manner that upholds the responsibility and the rules and the convention of certain things. But if that is too much of a burden, where do we go to relieve the burden? And so, what I am looking for us to think more about is how do we build the networks necessary? I don't have an answer for it right now. I know that, again, paywalls, discords, Telegram are ways that people build rooms of their own. And then all you have to do is make sure that you don't infiltrate them. There's a content creator I know who's extremely skilled at this. I know content creators that have Patreons and Discords, none of whom I'm going to put out there because remember, I'm in a move in silence camp. But it allows people to network away from having to deal with contrary opinions and people who only come to destroy. Again, I'm not putting that information out there, but I know that this is something that we can do to be able to network and get the help that we need and be able to feel heard and feel seen and then figure out when we are ready to make a public statement, how do we do this in the most powerful way that is going to get the effects that we want. A lot of the trouble that this argument that can't be resolved is partially an argument of we don't have the infrastructure between the two fields. You don't have to stay silent if you have somewhere safe to go. You don't have to feel unheard if again you're able to go and be heard and then you can work together to make powerful moves in public. That would resolve it. I just put to mind the fact that instead of arguing about what we should or should not do, perhaps it is time for us to very seriously get involved with building infrastructure to make it happen. And so that we're not as reliant on places where people can just come and be contrary and do things like call boards and things like that. We don't have to deal with the risks that come with Black women having access in certain places that way. And people can feel that they are being seen and heard and are not forced to live in silence. I offer a potential resolve. I don't have an actual resolve. Like I said, I can't stop this argument. I know what side I'm on, but I don't expect anybody to move. Everybody has a right to their view on this. What I want to do is for us to leave this conversation having somewhere that we can go as Black women to have the conversations we need to have and make the moves we need to make with support. One of the finest content creators who has built a network for support for certain things is Stephanie Perry. She's not just telling you to quit your job She's not just telling you to do as little as possible. She's not telling you that you can get ready to even leave the United States and the things that oppress Black women behind. She has built a whole community of people that will assist you in doing that. Coaching, digital nomad jobs, how to do things online to make the money that you need, all these things. She's built this, and there's people around her who have done these things who can guide Black women along. And some of these things can be moved in every situation. If you feel that you need to speak out in such a way that may damage your professional prospects, knowing that you can move on to something where you're not reliant on the corporate system, you're not reliant on government strictures, can help you have the space to do that. I'm going to put her channel in the description of this video. If we had more power, we would have more freedom of movement. So I am concerned with us. I guess the rest of the title of this may be, resolving the struggle about moving in silence with power building. I could call the title that. But I don't want to see us bogged, having the same argument over and over again means that there's a gap that needs to be bridged. I would suggest that we as Black women stop having the same discussions about what we should have done and move forward and figuring out, okay, people need to be protected from reprisal, but people also need to be seen and heard. How do we build the infrastructure for each other so that we can do both at the same time? All right, that's just a brief thought. I've been thinking about it quite a bit all day for reasons I can't get into. But while I stand firm in my position, I'm not unconcerned and not without respect from the positions of the other side of the argument. And if we can build the infrastructure we need, we can save the energy for that argument and go do something else with it. I'm sure someone will serve themselves up to be dragged soon enough. Or something of more informational and building nature will come along for us to discuss. Like I said on this channel, welcome to all of you who are new. I don't actually drag that often. You're going to get many more conversations like this where we move on from having to have a lot of emotion and attention expended on people that are not even necessary for us to fight with, because they can be made irrelevant. We're not going to get up here, for example. I thought about it, but as I was trying to make the video, I laughed too hard because it was just too irrelevant to be mentioned. Kirk Franklin thinks we're going to be able to take back the community and save the world by naming our children Betty, getting some real good Anglo-Saxon names. We're going to be able to go ahead and take our generations back. I could have dragged him, but then again, not worth the energy. So we take energy from discussions that are going in circles, solve the problem, move that energy to doing other things. That's what I'm hoping that we'll be able to do more and more of in 2023. And so I'll humbly offer my suggestion to allow those of us who have different minds in this to be able to build infrastructure so that we can at least look after those who are in our circle, so that people feel seen and heard and can plan how they want to show up in public in a way that is effective and is of less risk to them having professional access. All right. And also networking, Stephanie Perry, finding our way out of even needing to be bothered with having to meet standards that don't necessarily serve us. Combination. If you have more options, you can tell people what you want to tell them and go out the door. So we're trying to link up this whole train so that Black women have maximum freedom of action. All right. This just short thought. Y'all have a good day now. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.